Welcome back to the channel, folks. We are bringing you another good one here at the Creation Station. We are going to show the difference between hard light and soft light and how it can affect your shadows. So let's roll it. So for this video, we are bringing back in the amazing Caitlin Cook. We've used her before on a project. This is our second project with her. She just moved out of state, but said she'll be coming back, and you better believe we're going to do more projects with her when we get the chance. So like I mentioned before in preface in the video, we are going to use large modifiers and small modifiers to help show what hard light, soft light can do to affect your shadows, whether it be on your subject or the background. The two most simplest basic ways I can break it down between hard light and soft light. When you use a large modifier and bring it in close to your subject, that is going to have soft light. It is going to show a very gradual difference between your light and your shadows. It's going to be a gradation effect. When you have a smaller light that is farther away from your subject, it creates a harder light, which carves in more shadow detail on your subject and can help carve out the background shadow. The perfect example I can think of a small hard light is going to be the sun. Now I know the sun is massive compared to the earth, but it is very, very far away. It's millions of miles away. So this massive object, this massive light being so far away from your subject basically turns it into a very small but extremely powerful flashlight, and it can carve out really hard shadows. Next time you're outside on a bright sunny day, just go ahead and take a look at the ground on the pavement and what it's carving out, doing the outline of your shadow. So what I prefer, if I have the way to accomplish the task, is a soft light, which usually means a larger modifier. And most of the times indoors, if you're not shooting a big event, you can do this. So when Caitlin came in, I started doing some test shots. Now my preference is soft light in just about any time I can use it. Now I've used hard light in the past. It's either when requested by the client or when I'm doing things such as a fitness shoot when you want to carve out muscles and really flatter your subject. But for this instance, I was picturing a soft light with a different outfit she was going to bring in, and we were just going to have a nice gradation going across everything. So I used this 53-inch Westcott deep umbrella here I purchased from Bedford, Tulsa, and inside of it I put my Godox 8600. So we bring her in, she's standing, I'm doing a couple test shots. I have one Godox 8200 in this strip box here with a diffusion panel and this grid here. Now with the diffusion panel, whether you put a diffusion sock over this umbrella or you put the diffusion panel in front of this light, it doesn't matter if it's a large light, small light, whatever, diffusion is going to help soften that gradation between your light and dark shadows. So I digress. Using this main light with the 600 on the umbrella, I got a few test shots which I kind of liked how they looked. So I turned the camera around and I showed my client, which you should do in any case to get their feedback from. Now at this particular time, she mentioned how she wanted to see the shadow carved out on the background. She showed me an example, and you were able to see the outline of the subject instead of just a very gradual light to dark finish. So at this point in time, after seeing the example, I knew I was going to have to make a change. So this is what we did. I pulled out this Godox 8600, took the umbrella down, broke it down. I went with a smaller light, my Godox 8200, and I went into this strip box right here. So as I mentioned, the diffusion panel can soften your light a little bit. At this point, knowing I need hard light, I took down the grid, I took down the diffusion panel, and now I'm left with one light source here. So I moved this farther away from my subject. I left the silver reflective side here on the inside, and by this being a smaller modifier than my giant umbrella over here, I know is going to be a harder light, and it's going to carve in more of a shadow on the background for my subject. So by knowing it's going to create harder shadows on the subject itself and not just the background, I placed it more in front of her so I didn't have a hard shadow coming across the side of her nose or under her eyes. Put it more directly towards the camera when shooting straight on. So by the examples we're going to look at in the little test footage, you're going to be able to see in the jumping shot that we captured how we were able to carve out that shadow on the back. During the initial test shots, what I was doing here with the Godox 8600 was creating a very soft shadow. So I want to mention before we go any further, when you have such a large modifier such as this, if we loosen this umbrella up and you pull your umbrella close into your light, what you're doing is now focusing most of your light hitting more of the center of this umbrella, therefore causing a smaller light, which is going to be slightly harsher on your subject. If you push it out farther towards the end, you are now going to fill up more space of this umbrella, but you run the risk of your flash tube now shooting outside and bouncing off of the top of the umbrella, or maybe even putting a harsh line on the back. So you want to find a happy medium where you can fill this entire umbrella, creating the largest modifier possible without extra spill light that's going to ruin your shot. So as I mentioned before about diffusion, let's throw the sun back in this mix. If you're on a cloudy day, what the clouds are going to do is act as a big diffusion panel, and they're going to soften your light and spread it everywhere to soften your shadow. So with the hard light, in conclusion, we used the Godox 8200, took it farther away from our subject, and we were able to create the harder shadow on the background, which she requested. At the end of the day, the bottom line is you want to do what your client requests. After we got done with what the client requested, it became time to just create what we envisioned using the softer light here. As I already showed, the placement of this modifier makes it smaller or larger, and it's going to mimic what a cloud can do to the sun to soften the light. So quick recap, the two most basic things to break it down. A large modifier close to your subject, softer light. Small modifier being farther away from your subject is a harder light. So hopefully these few examples we've done here in studio at the Creation Station will help you in your future endeavors. If you want to see any of my other work, feel free to take a look at my channel and ask me anything that comes to mind. If you have anything else you'd like to see, whether it be gear related or just an idea, something you've been struggling with in the past, let me know and I will do my best to bring it to you soon. So if you've made it this far, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all my subscribers, and we're going to see what we can bring you next here at the Creation Station.